Breaking, big warning issued for Wednesday after word of terrifying event in U.S. city gets out. With less than 24 hours to prepare, U.S. authorities have issued a warning for what to be aware of this Wednesday, April 26, after confirming what they had heard. The timing isn't coincidental given the heightened tension between America and North Korea, and now our nation's capital is especially vulnerable to a terrifying event that's already underway. The threat from our enemies has never been more palpable than it is today with the ongoing tension we have with North Korea and Russia, who is supporting Syria. The concern that we could be on the brink of World War III is becoming a closer reality. Despite no military being able to stand up to ours, it doesn't seem to stop some from trying. Rather than assuming they won't, Washington, D.C., is preparing for the worst with good reason. What makes this warning worse, is that it's not the first. As we reported yesterday, Operation Gotham Shield in New York and New Jersey is underway to take place within the next couple of weeks, in which Homeland Security and a number of other top police and military agencies will simulate a nuclear bomb blast. Now, just hours after President Donald Trump called an unusual Senate meeting to discuss North Korea with all of his top defense and military officials at the table, we learn of a new drill for here in the homeland set to take place as early as tomorrow, and it's much different than Operation Gotham Shield. Zero Hedge reports. In a statement from the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, the regional association reports that law enforcement officials and other first responders will participate in a full-scale exercise on April 26 designed to prepare for the possibility of a complex coordinated terror attack in the national capital region. The statement explains that while residents shouldn't be afraid of this routine drill, it's very much different than others which have been performed before now. The exercises specifically address a threat that would encompass multiple target locations and teams of perpetrators, Zero Hedges reported added. Law enforcement officials practice and exercise their skills on their own regularly because that's the best way to ensure we are always ready to respond quickly and professionally, Scott Boggs, the Council of Governments Managing Director of Homeland Security and Public Safety, said, according to The Hill. On April 26, we'll go one step further and stage a very realistic emergency event involving multiple sites and actors posing as the casualties. However, there is no reason for residents to be alarmed because the exercise will occur in a controlled environment. This should put every American on guard that it's perhaps not a matter of if an attack attempt is made, but when. Intelligence organizations understand what's real and of concern to our country's safety and are preparing to face them head-on. This is both a comfort and a concern considering the type of attacks they're preparing for. Unlike Operation Gotham Shield, which is set to take place in a professional sports stadium, the DC drill hits much closer to home and encompasses a far larger area. The exercise will be conducted across a widespread geographical area, Zero Hedge reported. According to the release, the regional exercise will be staged at 6 sites in the District of Columbia, suburban Maryland and Northern Virginia, and will involve hundreds of police, fire, and emergency medical service personnel and volunteer actors. It's easy to see this as an ominous sign of what could very well be coming since the last several drills were held days or weeks before big terroristic events. However, at least citizens can rest assured that they will be prepared to tackle what comes and to perhaps ready themselves, their homes, and their families for any worst-case scenario. Breaking, Trump's entire wall just got paid for by one person and you won't believe who? The fight over who will foot the $14 million to fund Trump's U.S.-Mexico border wall is no longer an issue after one person could be forced to pony up the bill for it under the most ironic of circumstances. News is breaking right now from one of the most outspoken advocates of the border wall outside of President Donald Trump, who just dropped a bomb to solve the funding problem with one simple solution. The money for the wall is already in America's possession, we just need to get permission to use it now, and the one who it belongs to has no say in the matter. You could call Senator Ted Cruz the best problem solver with devising the perfect solution to get moving on one of Trump's biggest and most important campaign promises. Breitbart reports. Senator Ted Cruz, RTX, introduced a bill calling for the use of $14 billion seized from cartel drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman to be used to pay for the president's border wall between the U.S. and Mexico. It makes perfect sense since one of the world's largest drug cartel leaders benefited by the billions in an open border. Now that he's in custody, it's only fair that the blood money in holding go to good use against Chapo's cause, and Cruz is a genius for proposing this idea. $14 billion will go a long way toward building the wall that will keep Americans safe and hinder the illegal flow of drugs, weapons, and individuals across our southern border, Senator Cruz said, as was reported by Breitbart Texas, who received a statement from the senator's office on the matter. Ensuring the safety and security of Texans is one of my top priorities. The entire objective of the border wall is to dramatically slow the flow of drugs and crime into America through avenues established by El Chapo. His forfeited drug money fortune will offset the wall's cost and make meaningful progress toward achieving President Trump's stated border security objectives, Cruz's statement continued. The bill, appropriately dubbed the Ensuring Lawful Collection of Hidden Assets to Provide Order, El Chapo, was introduced by Cruz on Tuesday and with any luck will get a lot of conservative support. Of course, liberals are greatly against the idea of a wall, preaching for breaking down walls of communication rather than building them. This utopian idea can't and won't work, as El Chapo proves with his billions of dollars and thousands of lives lost to his enterprise. The U.S. government is currently seeking the criminal forfeiture of more than $14 billion in drug proceeds and illicit profits from El Chapo, the former leader of the Sinaloa drug cartel, who was recently extradited to the U.S. to face criminal prosecution for numerous alleged drug-related crimes, including conspiracy to commit murder and money laundering, Cruz stated, Breitbart reports. Breitbart Texas' Ildefonso Ortiz reports that as part of the agreement with Mexico, Guzman will not face the death penalty in the U.S. for his crimes. This makes the money usage even better, since he has to live holed up in a jail cell for the rest of his life and know what all of his money is being siphoned into. Just because the kingpin is out, doesn't mean that his cartel network is, which is still in operation breaching our border. It couldn't be better than to make their boss pay for the wall that's needed because of him and shut the whole drug and crime funnel down for good. Breaking: State Department responds to North Korea arrested a U.S. citizen. An American citizen has been detained by the North Korean government in the latest of a series of provocations from Kim Jong-un's regime, the Associated Press reported, and it didn't take long for President Donald Trump's State Department to respond. Tony Kim, who also goes by his Korean name, Kim Sang-duk, was detained by authorities Saturday as he was boarding a plane to China with his wife. Kim became the third American citizen in the custody of the North Korean government. The 58-year-old Kim is employed as a professor at the Pyongyang University of Science and Technology, where he had taught accounting for about a month, Chancellor Park Chan-mo said. He added that Kim's teaching at the university, North Korea's only private institution of higher learning, had nothing to do with his detention by authorities. According to CNN, the school said this detention is related to an investigation into matters not connected in any way with the work of PUST. We cannot comment on anything that Mr. Kim may be alleged to have done that is not related to his teaching work on the PUST campus. The U.S. State Department promptly issued a terse statement about Kim's detention. We are aware of reports that a U.S. citizen was detained in North Korea, a State Department official said. The protection of U.S. citizens is one of the department's highest priorities. They added that they were working with the Swedish embassy to secure Kim's release, because the United States doesn't have diplomatic relations with North Korea. Sweden handles America's consular affairs in the communist state. While details of Kim's detention were not immediately made public, North Korean state media hadn't even announced the arrest. We have little doubt this was yet another instance of saber rattling by Kim Jong-un. It's the latest wrinkle in what's become Trump's biggest test, neutralizing the insane North Korean regime. Our thoughts and prayers are with Kim and his family. Let's hope that he can be released without capitulating to any insane demands from Kim Jong-un. Trump responds after Dems threaten blockage of emergency spending measure. President Donald Trump unleashed his wrath against Democrats Sunday on Twitter after he learned that they plan to reject an emergency spending measure that reportedly includes funding for his proposed border wall. The Democrats don't want money from budget going to border wall despite the fact that it will stop drugs and very bad MS-13 gang members, he wrote. Whether or not the construction of a wall would in fact put a halt to cartel activity along the border remains unclear, though common sense logic suggests it would at least affect it. Moreover, such an impact would be a boon for frustrated Border Patrol agents. The president's tweet was inspired by remarks made by top Democrats claiming that they would reject all attempts to appropriate money for the border wall. The wall is, in my view, immoral, expensive, unwise, and when the president says, "Well, I promised a wall during my campaign," I don't think he said he was going to pass billions of dollars of cost of the wall onto the taxpayer, House Minority Nancy Pelosi said Sunday on Meet the Press. In an additional tweet posted minutes after his first one, the president added that while funding for the border wall will initially come from the government's coffers, it will eventually be procured from Mexico in one way or another. Eventually, but at a later date so we can get started early, Mexico will be paying, in some form, for the badly needed border wall, he wrote. The best idea so far for paying for the wall entails taxing remittances. Specifically, a bill unveiled earlier this month by Alabama Representative Mike Rogers would aim to tax money transfers from the United States to the home countries of illegal immigrants at a rate of 2%. Until that bill or something similar passes the House and Senate, however, Trump must make do with government money, assuming the pesky Democrats don't block his way. HT The Daily Caller. Please share this story on Facebook and Twitter and let us know what you think about President Donald Trump's wrathful Twitter takedown of the congressional Democrats refusing to fund his border wall. What do you think about his tweets? Scroll down to comment below. Trump discovers Obama was spending $300 million on fake Afghan soldiers, gives Pentagon new orders. Millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars were being foolishly wasted paying for the salaries of